Welcome, everybody. Happy to give this little presentation. I must say that I took a lot of still shots from the RQ Plus and the presentation that Amber and Dave Albertstein made on the rule changes. So if you had a chance to visit that and take a look at it, you might see a little bit of duplication, at least in the graphics. And I can't take credit for the graphics, so it's all to the credit of Amber and Dave. But I do have quite a few film clips, which are from this past weekend and the weekend before. So the Princeton Pacific game, and then some of the games at Bucknell, to use as examples. So as we go through, I'll take the time to play the clips. And when I play the clips, I want you to keep in mind that this is not the referee's view. This is the camera's view, and usually the cameras are up high and at mid-pool, and they don't necessarily reflect the view that the referees have. As I show these clips, I'm going to kind of take the same strategy that I do with the officials when I evaluate them and have them come up and see me after the game, and we can go through all the clips that we tagged. And we have discussions. And basically, I'm not trying to catch anybody off guard. Usually, if there's a question on a particular clip or I have a question, I'll usually ask them, well, what did you see from your perspective, from your position? And why did you make that particular call? Then we can go back and we can take a look at it. And we can look at it as many times as needed. We can go frame by frame, forward, reverse. Obviously, referees don't have that opportunity on the pool deck. It would be nice if you did, but things happen very fast and very quick. And when you look at the videotapes, the clips that I have, what I'm going to try to do is give you a perspective first, because a lot of times when you look at videos on screen, everything passes by and you don't know what to focus on. Whereas if you're on the pool deck as an official, you definitely have your area and your communications with your partner. So it's important for me when I show the clips that we give you some type of perspective. We let it run through. We might let it run through a second time. And then we go back and discuss that particular clip and the important points on it and how it relates to the new rules or to the rules as they're written right now. So let me share this screen and I will bring up, hopefully, I will find it here. And there we go. So hopefully everybody can see what's on the screen. Inside the goal area. Now that's not the first one. I'll move up to the first one. The goal area. And the red markings shall be placed at each end of the field of play on the boundary line to denote the goal area. The marks shall be placed 2 meters outside the inside of the goal. So the measurement should be from the inside of the goal, not the outside of the goal. Post such that the goal area is defined as the rectangle area in front of the goal, bounded by the end line, the 2 meter line, and lines 2 meters outside the inside of each goal. So that basically is your goal area. And an attacking player who is outside the goal area can now go inside 2 meters so long as they don't go into the goal area. you can provide, and this will happen a lot with the clubs. A lot of them might not have the budget to get it as the rules are written right now. So there's a provision in there. There should be permanent markings thereafter the fall of 2025. This all came on pretty quickly. So, and then with the clubs and their budgets, et cetera, it gives them an opportunity to make a few adjustments. Okay, we'll go on to, here's your area. As you can see, it's in dark blue right here, if you can see my pointer. And 2 meters, 2 meters, 2 meters, 2 meters. And that is your goal area now. And on the side, that's where the red marker should be. It should be continuous all the way out to the end of that goal area. Examples of temporary goal area markings, foam or other material, line lane markers, single red goal line. And they could be painted on the goal, on the lane lines, they could be painted red. You could use a red towel tied to the goal line at the marker. On the wall goals, use deck cones, red paint stripe, strip, nylon or wooden deck markers. And here's an example right here. Floating goal, very nice setup. You've got your red line right there on the other side designating the goal area or the boundaries of the goal area. And here's an example of a cone on the deck. And here's an example of a marker on the lane line. Most of the varsity teams, they have floating goals. I say most of them, at least the Ivy League schools and Navy, et cetera, and Fordham. And they usually utilize this little marker right here. Okay, inside the goal area, here we go. To be within the opponent's goal area, except when behind the line of the ball, it shall not be an offensive if a player is inside the 2 meter line, but outside the goal area. Any player who is behind the line of the ball can enter the goal area to receive a pass. As long as the pass is lateral or backward pass and not a forward pass. And as a referee, your focus should be on the person that has the ball that's going to make the pass. And if you focus on that player and the direct line to the teammate that he wants to pass to, you'll be able to determine pretty well whether it's lateral, backwards, or a forward pass. And you've got to be careful because if they move, that line changes. So they might be back of or lateral to the line, but as that ball goes, if that ball is at all forward and they're trying to lead that player, that's a no-no. If it is not clear that a player is within the goal area, a goal area violation should not be called. So you have to be in good position to be able to see whether the player is inside the goal area illegally or legally. So it's going to be a little more difficult task this year than it's been in the past. But I'm sure you all will be up to it and will adjust to it pretty quickly. All right, so let's go and take a look at some examples. Okay, you're at Fordham University, and you can see their markers are set here on the lane lines. They don't have them dark red. They just have the red marker right here. You can see they've got the red marker on the deck, on the side of the pool, and the yellow, etc., with the cones, so that they can designate the 2 meter, 5 meter, and 6 meter, etc. So let me go in here. I really like this particular software, QuickTime Player, for showing, because I can go in here and I can put all the frames of the clips down below. And as you take a look at this now, you've got the ball out here. Fordham has the ball. You've got a player on the far side over here, another player, etc. And the defense is all lined up properly to defend at this particular point in time, except for right here. It's a little sketchy. He possibly has inside water, and this player possibly can gain inside water. So the ball is going to travel from here over to the far side, and I'll let you see it right straight through. So you can tell me if there's a violation of inside the 2. Now, you also can see on this, you can see the referee respond. He said it was inside the 2, that there was a player inside the 2, and it was the center forward. And you can see his hand signal there. His first hand signal is to get 2 fingers up, the victory sign, and point that it's changed the direction. And then right after that, he will kind of indicate that his call was for inside the 2 by pointing to the line right here. All right, now, from a standpoint of evaluating referees, I'd go back and I'd take a look at this, and I'd run it back, and I'll say, okay. Well, first of all, before I even do that, as far as offenses are concerned, what you'll see is somebody will always try to get inside the 2 over in this area. And that allows for the players to create drives going in towards the goal. In this particular case, it wound up going to the 2 meter man. But where are we here? Okay. So he gets fouled. It's an ordinary foul out there. He'll come back out. Over, they're working that side. Defense is in a zone type defense. And now the 2 meter man has established himself. But what he does, unfortunately, and he doesn't realize it, or he wouldn't have done it, but he is now approaching, getting inside the 2. Now, with the video here and the angle of the camera, it's kind of hard to draw a line from there all the way over to here. And just kind of have to go on the response of the referee pretty much. But the ball will come in, and he's already inside. Now you see the defense responds really well. The defense relinquishes complete control, gets 2 hands up in the air, so it gives the 2 meter man the opportunity to go to the ball and create a shooting situation. And let me see. I keep losing the frame here. So anyway, so he is able to score a goal, but he was inside the 2. So there's an example of an offensive set and how it develops and how it went into the 2 meter man, who backed himself into the 2 meter area, the goal area, and the goal is disallowed and they're going off in the other direction. Okay, here's another example. Now, this is at Princeton. And again, you can see how they're set up. And the ball is out here. And in this particular clip, I'm going to let it run through because I want to try to remember. I'm not quite sure exactly what happens, but we'll find out very quickly. Okay, get yourself oriented. Now, here we go. Okay, the goal wasn't counted, and it was because there was a player inside the two. So if we take that back, for some reason, I had a red arrow. It's this player right here. And he moves in. He's getting ready. But he lost control of the ball. So now he's going to take a free throw, but he can't take it inside the goal area. He has to take it outside the goal area. And the ball is outside the goal area, so it's very convenient for him to go over and pick the ball up and take the free throw, which he does right here. I'm sorry, this is the guy that's inside the two. He just stayed there. He never left. He moves into the goal area right here, and he just never left. So they had to turn the ball over, which was a good call on their part. Okay, I'll just run it right through from the beginning because there's something at the beginning that you should be aware of. What do you think about the goalie coming up? That was pretty aggressive. I mean, it's an exclusion foul, but if you felt at that particular point in time, if those referees felt that the game was getting a little bit too, or it was going to get a little bit too physical, they could give that goalie a ma'am. They could even give him a misconduct, but since it's right at the very beginning of the game in the first period, a misconduct would be unlikely. But a ma'am is a good tool to use to send a message that, hey, wait a minute, go for the ball, put it under, but don't get all over the guy. Player safety is really important. And he just stayed inside the two, so therefore that doesn't count.
Hey,
Okay.
Ed.
Yes. Did somebody say something?
Yeah, quick question. Goalie vacates the net. Is an ordinary wide open cage. Why not 5 meter or penalty shot?
In that situation,
Well, he's definitely covered on both sides of the defender, but you don't consider the goalie's position on a penalty shot when they vacate the cage.
right, he just comes out and, he goes for the ball and tries to push it under, and, basically it was a little bit too aggressive. So the referees gave an exclusion foul on him.
And I'm okay with that. I just with a wide open cage, what else would the player have done had the goalie not fouled him? He would have turned around, shot the ball, and scored.
I'm not sure I follow you on that.
A vacated cage. It's a wide. The goalie left the cage wide open.
Right, it's
What would the player have done had the goalie not fouled him? Turned around and shot.
yeah.
It's
Hence the
possible,
five.
but
Yeah.
there's still a defender behind, so it's not a clear
It-
path.
Oh no, it's a right-handed shooter with a defender on the right. That goalie comes out on the left-hand side. A right-handed shooter is going to turn to the left and gun that right in. And to me, I was just instructing to the goalies not the consideration in that scenario.
It's a consideration, but your key word was going to. You can't award a going to. If they had gone there, I would agree, but you can't give them what they haven't done.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The goalie comes out, he's the one that fouls. Therefore, he's the one that gets penalized. Okay, we can move on here to another situation. Okay, let's run this through real quick. Ball is over here.
Unless there was a golden opportunity. Worst stage for Richmond on down to 4. It must be 5 for it. So Servers has that line of goal first.
Because you see a yellow card going here, one of the coaches complains, so yellow card goes up right away. Let's take this back. All right, you keep your eye on center forward here. He's inside the 2, so now he's entitled to go to the line of the ball. Now that ball, if it didn't get tipped, that would have been an illegal pass because it would have been in front of this player. And so therefore the ball would automatically turn over, but the ball got tipped. So it's not inside the 2. The announcer is a good official there. Okay, here's another inside the 2, and I have a but after this, and see if you can figure out why I put a but after this, a question mark, so to speak.
Working it in, trying to go post to post. Mitrovic defensively on task. Second chance opportunity to go for the switches out before no ball inside 2.
Now, if I were discussing that with the referees, I would say, okay, everything is good here. He's inside. He's entitled to go in, but that can't be a forward pass. It can't be in front of him. It's got to be right directly to him. Now what happens? Okay, the ball gets tipped. Ball gets tipped by this defensive player right here. And the ball goes back out. This player went up for the ball and he naturally falls forward because he had to get pretty high out of the water. Ball comes right out here. Now he's just coming up from going forward. He now has to make an effort to get outside the goal area and get outside the two. So my question to the referees are, did you give this player enough time to leave, and was his intention to leave the area? Which it appears to be. He's trying to move out as the shot's coming. So should that be a goal? Should it not be a goal? It's a judgment call on the referee, but we would have that discussion. And I'd say, in my point of view, from my point of view, and in my mind, you have to give this player the opportunity to move out. And as he moved out, was he interfering with anything? No, he wasn't. So I would question whether or not that goal should count or not count. I would say it should count, but it wasn't counted.
Looks like we've got a question from Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff,
Yeah. So Ed, on the where we're making a judgment call about whether there's a forward pass or not, is the position of both players established by the position of their heads, or the position of the ball, or some mix with the passer and the receiver?
According to Dave Alberstein, it's the center of the head.
Okay.
And again, if you focus on the passer and the present position of the player that he's going to pass to, that's where you establish the line. So if anything goes in front of that, it's not going to be good. If he stays on that line, that's fine. And if it goes behind him, that's fine. So that's,
Thanks.
I think that's the easiest way to kind of focus on it.
Ed, I have a question about that, because we were talking about as long as the player inside to behind the line of the ball.
He has
So
to be in line or behind the line.
yeah, behind the line of the ball, right?
The line from the passer to the receiver, center of the head,
So not the ball.
not the ball. I mean, the ball comes into play because if the ball goes on the inside of that line, then that's going to be a forward pass.
Because sometimes the player,
it's a
yeah,
lateral pass.
sometimes the player plays the ball very close to the inline or the baseline that make the pass. The pass itself may be backward pass, but if we define the head to head, there might be the player inside the goal area in front of that player's head. But the ball still could be a backward pass, right?
It changes with the receiver. If the receiver moves, then that line changes.
Yes.
If the receiver goes backwards, okay, that makes it a different line. If he goes forward, that makes it a different line. But you've established that line and you see those two players, you know where that line is, and now you can tell whether or not that's going to be a lateral backward pass or a forward pass.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
So in this situation, what was the call?
In that situation, it was no goals inside the two.
Okay, because the player seems like he has the intention to leave the cage.
Exactly. And as I said, if I were doing the evaluation on it, that would be my point of emphasis right there. Did you give him enough time to get outside? And it looked like that shot came off so quick that he was moving out, but he didn't get completely out, but they called it anyway.
And another different thing
So
is
that
the
situation, so it's too quick.
yeah.
But
that-
I can look at this video and it's easy for me to see that, but it happens, boom, just,
yeah, correct, yeah.
and so it's tough. And this is where you're gonna have, you know, a good time.
Yeah, let's suppose that the shooter missed the shot, right? And the rebound is received by that guy leaving the cage. What would you call?
It depends upon where he is. The ball hits the cage.
Okay.
Let me see if I determined that if I saw this pass going and I saw that he wasn't moving forward like he is moving forward here, I'd have to, in my own mind, determine whether or not he moved and made this a forward pass by going towards the ball. And that ball, that line may have gone this way and he may be behind it. So therefore that could be a forward pass. All right, but it hits and it gets tipped and it bounces out, say it bounces to him. It would be a live ball, I believe, and he would be able to shoot, but he'd have a tough time in that position right there. If the ball goes and it bounces off the goalpost and it bounces into the water, it's a live ball now. So if he tried to control that ball or tried to get a shot off, you still have a player over, well, he's out of the goal area. So you don't have to worry about him.
But is the question, if this played through and it got to the guy taking the shot and the guy's trying to leave the two, is that where you're going, Igor? And then all of a sudden the ball gets the rebound and he's not outside the two. That guy still has to leave the two before he can come back in, right?
Yeah, the guy is still inside the 2 meters, but he's showing the intention to leave, right? But at the same moment, the shooter took the shot and missed, and that guy leaving the zone, the cage, get the rebound. So what would you call? Would you reward that guy, or you would call the turnover?
Okay, hold your questions because I think I have a clip here. This next one is a better clip to kind of answer that question. And let me just get this frame by frame up here. Okay. All right, watch this through.
Going inside, getting not have it 16-20.
That's where your focus is.
And it's sucked down. I don't know if it's good. Goes down. Now, for the ball game, LeBron makes the first shot. It's not.
All right, this
Getting not have it 16-20. And it's sucked down. I don't know if it's good. Goes down.
okay, he's obviously inside the two, and the ball comes outside, or he's inside the goal area, and the ball comes outside, and it basically comes down right back to the player that shot it. It gets blocked by that field player right in front of him. Gets blocked, so the ball comes right back to him. All right, and then he does a quick boom. Now, we've discussed this, Michael Goldenberg, Eric Farrar, and myself on our weekly conference call. We discussed this and determined that that should be a goal that should count, because there's no way he was a factor. He was inside. This all happened so fast that there was no way he could even try to get out or try to give an indication of getting out. So therefore, the goal should count.
For the ball game, LeBron makes the first zone. Inside.
So hopefully that answers your question. And there's the last one I have on.
Yeah, it
inside.
does. Yeah.
So you had the player up here that was inside the two. When the shot came, no goal. Here. Find that red. Okay, here's the red line. He goes inside that goal area right now, inside the two. As that shot's going off, he made no effort whatsoever to get out of there. Instead, he just continued to go deeper in. So therefore, that goal didn't count. And our discussion was a very positive one with the referees that were on that time. Okay, that takes care of inside the two fairly well. So let's move on here. Again, these are just some quick examples of what would count. This would be allowed. The ball, player, that pass, no problem. It's allowed. And here's an example of a pitcher, the ball, player. Okay, this would be allowed. Ball, player, there's the line. That's allowed.
Is that line supposed to be meant from the ball or from the center of the head of that offensive player with the ball?
It doesn't look like the center of the head of the player, but that's the problem with making these diagrams. Okay, there's the example. Allowed. Allowed, so long as when that ball goes, if that ball goes from here to there and it follows that line, that's fine. But as soon as that player, if that ball were to be passed here and this player was to go up to the ball, that would not be allowed.
Ed, I'm seeing that player's head pretty much on the goal line. I'm not sure the player could receive that pass. If I'm looking at his head and not the location of the ball, pretty much the whole goal area is behind his head.
Well, that's something you have to determine. I think, at least in my judgment, based upon where this player is, I think he is not on the goal line. He's very close to it, but he's not on it. If you were to take this ball, for some reason, if he were a left-hander and he would have put the ball up in his left hand, that would be across the goal line and that would be an immediate turnover.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something you have to be very sharp on and very aware of. Where is his head relative to the goal line? No question about it. This would not be allowed. This would be a forward pass, not allowed. And in this particular situation, boom, he's inside. That pass would not be allowed. And that would not be allowed either. And this deals basically with, you can't make a forward pass to a player that is up here and moving into the ball. That's a forward pass. That's not allowed. And again, not okay. Cannot be in front of the line at any time if a pass into or within the goal area flies forward toward the goal line ahead of the receiving player. An ordinary offensive foul must be called, even if the passing and the receiving players were at the same line at the moment of the pass. This is especially important to apply in a player advantage situation where you have your 2 and your 3 post, 2 and 3 post line up. And they bring it inside, and then they try to throw it. And if that player goes beyond that line to try to get at the ball, if he tries to lead him, it's not going to work. Best leaving the ball. And even if somebody passed the ball, say there was the ball was active and it's, I'll say maybe it's 6 meters. And there's a player that's right on the edge of the goal area. And he has a defensive player on him. And if that player with the ball passes the ball in and it lands in the goal area, that player cannot go to the ball. That should be turned over. That's illegal. Because again, it's considered a forward pass. Even though the ball wasn't passed very well, I should say. Okay, these are basically do not allow players to linger inside the 2. Position of the player is determined by the center of the player's head. And again, there's your signal. You've already saw it demonstrated in live action. And okay, implementation, the ball must go. We've covered that. We're taking a free throw. Shall be taken at the location of the ball, except if the foul is committed by a defending player within the defender's goal area. The free throw shall be taken outside the goal area. So basically, he's permitted to go off to the side or go up top to get out of the goal area and take that free throw. He cannot take it within the goal area. This is allowed because it's outside the goal area. Inside the goal area, time to take the free throw shall be reasonable. Again, free throws shall be reasonable and without undue delay. Ball must be put in play, demonstrating a clear separation of ball, hand, and water as passing the ball, pick up, dropping the ball, tossing the ball in the air, swimming with the ball, or transferring the ball from one hand to the other above the water. It's got to be visible. And sometimes we have a tendency to get a little bit lenient on that. Spinning the ball, no. That's got to leave the hand. You have to visibly see it leave the hand. And sometimes during a game, you get caught off guard. You might be looking at something else and you weren't looking at the player putting the ball in play. Players are getting much better at that, and they're doing it consistently. Okay, you must not interfere with the taking of a free throw, goal throw, or corner throw. Intentionally throwing away or fail to release the ball, play the ball before it has left the hand of the thrower. Defender staying too close. And Amber has come up with this bread basket. And if you can see me on the screen, that's my bread basket right there, where I can reach out and go finger to finger out in front of me. And basically it's the same as if I want to turn and throw to somebody, my elbow right here, they can't be in the way. They can't interfere with that. And if they want to put a hand up, and this is interesting, if they want to put a hand up, it's 1 meter away. The rule book says 1 meter away. 1 meter is a pretty good distance. So just keep that in mind. Position yourself so you can cover your primary area and still judge the free throw accurately. Give appropriate reaction grace to both. Be wise to player tactics like holding by the offense or defense, holding so they cannot move away. O and D. Seen more prominently in the women's game, but exists in both. Offensive advancing without putting the ball in play. Defense closing the gap of distance prior to the ball being released. Those are the things you need to be aware of. Okay, now we get into penalty fouls. Attacking a player from behind within 6 meters, it shall be a penalty foul for a defending player to foul or impede from behind an attacking player who has the ball and an open path to the goal within the 6 meter area, regardless of whether the player is holding the ball. That's the big difference. The only way a defender can defend in this situation is to touch only the ball or the hand holding the ball, not the arm, the hand. In this situation, to touch only the ball or hand holding the ball. If the defending player's actions prevent the attacking player from continuing the action, a penalty must be called. This does not constitute an automatic penalty call for any contact from behind. The last sentence in the rule states that the defending player's actions have to prevent the attacking player from continuing the action for a penalty to be called. This is one area that we have a lot of discussions on. And with this rule being changed, defensive players are starting to make an adjustment, but too often at the beginning of the first tournament, I saw players coming in from if this was the goal right here, they were coming in from way over here from the side and driving in with a defense on them. And that defense was really being kind of stupid because they were swimming right on the back. And you're swimming on the back, you're sinking and you're impeding. So therefore, as soon as they get inside the goal area, the referee's going to call a penalty foul. But now you see players going to the side and waiting patiently for that player to pick the ball up. And then if they hit the arm, that's going to be a penalty. But if they hit the hand or they knock the ball out and they do it clean, that's not going to be a penalty. So here we go. Here are penalty fouls. Let's take a look. Now you can see right here, the ball's going out and it's going to come in. He's already worked himself into a position so that he has inside water. And all he's got to do is, if he's not holding or grabbing and taking advantage of that defensive player in any way, all he has to do is turn around and face into the goal. And if that ball comes in, he's either going to get a shot off or it's going to be a penalty. Either way. One more time. One hand down, one hand up. He's already on top of the guy, basically. Now you take a look. Your criteria is inside 6 meters, enough control of the ball to shoot, a clear path to the goal, facing the goal, and a probable goal. So those are the criteria. So if I'm talking with the referees about this particular clip, we'll just go over each one of those criteria. Does it meet all those criteria? Yes, it does. Had a clear path, etc., is being fouled, and he's inside the 6. And it would be, you kind of have to guess it would be a probable goal. It depends upon how good that goalkeeper is, but you can't factor that in. And so therefore, boom, penalty. Second defender was behind. Anytime that second defender is behind, it's a no factor. If the defender is over to the side here, the second defender, that would probably not be a factor. But if that defender was in front of, that would be a factor. And so therefore, you'd be looking at an exclusion foul and not a penalty. Here's a penalty on a power play. All right, did you see that? If you're really observant, you can see that, and this happened really quick, but they got his arm. In fact, they got it twice. Got it once here, which is really not a factor until the ball comes. Now it's a factor, and he got the arm. But he did that once before. I think he did it right. And this is what the referee actually saw him go in and start to grab, or at least when we talked about it, he did. Like right there, boom. From the camera view, and I was operating, I didn't even see that. And when we looked at it and went over it, said, hey, good call. All right, here's an interesting situation. What would you call here? Okay, let's run that through. And when we discuss it, this is what we look for. Okay, he makes the turn. He's now facing the goal. Defense has got two hands up, but they're impeding at the beginning. Right now, he slides off to the side. There's a second defender here, which can influence it. The referee actually wound up calling an exclusion foul rather than a penalty because there was a second defender that could influence that situation. So he calls an exclusion foul on this player right here. Now what happens? Player goes up to the ball. The excluded player interfered, so therefore it's a penalty. And that's what they called. Okay, the last one, rebound. He had the opportunity. As a probable goal, all he had to do is pick that ball up. The goalie's right there. Therefore, in our discussion, we said, hey, that was a good penalty foul. Good call. All right, that takes care of penalties. Now, this is where the gray area comes in. We have great discussions on these. Exclusion or penalty?
For the rest of the quarter. George, the last possession, no 7-6 this quarter. A timeout. George Harris, wide ejection to the dogs, and 6-5. For the rest of the quarter.
Okay. Defense does a really good job there getting both hands up. Once the defender gets in this position, he pretty much yields to the offensive player. He's basically, okay, I give up. You know, do your best thing, do your best shot. However, if he drops any one of those arms down, then that's a different story. Now, the player's not facing the goal, doesn't have a clear path to the goal, so therefore, this is going to be an exclusion foul. And he did drop one hand down there. And from the referee's standpoint over here, from where he was viewing this, he felt that that was now basically a hold or a sink. And excluded the player. This might be a better controversial one. All right, referees over here. This is, and you got the perimeter referee up here. So you can see where they're positioning. Now, from this referee, his view across the way for this particular situation is not that great. It would be better for this official if they could communicate and kind of changed positions and he could step down a little bit, he could make that call. But you only can do that if you have radios. You can do it if you talk to your partner ahead of time, at timeouts, et cetera, before the game starts, as to how you want to deal with this side of the field of play when it's a tough view for the attack referee up here to cover, and how you can communicate with each other so that you can get that covered properly. Now, the question is, did he turn and face the goal? Did he make a complete turn? And this is tough if you're a right-hander to turn into the defense and make that clean sweep in and get the defender behind you. And the referee felt it from where he was. He didn't think that he made that full turn in. He didn't see his head pop up here with the defense behind. So therefore, he called an exclusion and not a penalty. Again, it's another one of those, it's a judgment call, and it's a tough call for that attack referee to make because it's on the left post here. And again, if you can communicate and switch off, that makes it a little bit easier. But he really didn't get that full turn because he came up, you can see he came up with his face towards the perimeter referee here. He couldn't quite make that turn and get control. Of course, he was being fouled. So he's definitely going out. It's just whether or not you feel that's a penalty or an exclusion foul. And I agreed with the referees on that one. I thought they did a good job. And this is the last one on a penalty that I've got. Okay, on this one, run through it real quick here. Again, the defender was on the side. He didn't have a clear path to the goal. Goalie comes out. Goalie tries to put that ball underwater, but he uses extreme force and gets excluded. And so they go with a power play without the goalie. And again, I talked to the referees. We talked about possibility of giving that goalie a MAM. And possibly did it rise to the level of a misconduct? Since that was pretty much a hack on his part. I mean, when you're going out, all he had to do is reach out with that left hand and put the ball, make contact, and the ball's underwater. But he follows through and then really pushes down hard. So that's why we talked about going a little bit above an exclusion. Controlling the game and the physicality is very important, especially in the men's games. I mean, we did have, in one game, we did have two flagrant misconducts, one that was caught and one that wasn't caught. And you hate to see that because one of the players in the misconduct that wasn't caught wound up with 7 stitches in his face. And that's not a good thing. Okay, note that this does not constitute an automatic penalty call for any contact from behind. As we meant to tackler. Continuing. Okay. All right, let's see what we've got here. I was going to plan on making sure that I didn't go much beyond 40 minutes. Because I know looking at all these tapes, you can kind of get a little leery. Let me see, before I go any further here, probable goal, this just goes over what we just discussed basically. Oh, I know. Clear path facing, okay, that's the same. We talked about that. And we talked about that. But what we didn't talk about is timing. It's critical. If your whistle is too early, it doesn't look right. And you might be taking the ball away from a player who could score a natural goal. If it's too late, you know, you've got the problem with it being a little bit too late too. It doesn't always look good. You can get a lot of physical play by letting it go too late. So it's not easy, but it is what you have all the signed up to do. And basically, when possible, during the game or after, strive for consistency. Now, I'm going to show you, I was able to get 3 clips on timing. And these are things that sometimes happen, and it happens to the best of the referees. Now that one's a little bit too late, and it kind of gets messy because it's a little bit too late. He lets it get into the goal. He could actually call a penalty, right? He could have called a penalty right there. It's basically he comes over the top. He's got control of the ball. He has a clear path, and he tries to hold on to him. And now he gets his hands up. And if he had called that a little bit earlier, it wouldn't have got quite so messy because he waited. And now the goalie comes out and, you know, you have a little bit of a free for all there. So that's one thing that we discussed when we took a look at that clip afterwards with the attack referee who made that call. So that's an example of letting it go a little bit too far when it could have been called earlier. And there's an example of too early. And this is one of our best referees. This is Vasilchikov. And when he came over and we talked about it, he went, I just couldn't see that he was going to get that shot off. And I said, well, maybe what you might want to do in that situation is you blew the whistle at the right time. Sorry. You blew the whistle at the right time. He comes over the top and goes for the ball. I said, if you waited just a little bit, you would have seen that he's going to get that shot off, but you blew the whistle and the whistle is still blowing right through here. I said, just continue blowing the whistle and call it a goal. I said, you could save yourself in that situation. And he agreed. And this was good officiating on this particular one. It's a short clip. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the first part. I got this on the replay. But he has good control. He has a clear path. You know, you don't want to blow the whistle right here, especially when the defense gets 2 hands up. You want to see a natural goal if possible. And sometimes if you wait too long, maybe the goalie blocks the ball. Well, that's the way it goes. So, you know, you're kind of in a tough spot in this situation. But he kept his hands up and he just sunk because he kept his hands up, which freed him right here. His hands go up, he sinks. And he's got the ball under control and boom, he gets it. Of course, that's a very skilled player. I mean, both those players are very skilled. That's Princeton and Pacific. And that's 2 of the top 10 teams in the country right now. So, okay. I think I'll stop it there and continue not next week, but the week after next, where I have communication. I'll save the rest of the presentation for that. Unless anybody has any questions, I don't want to keep you all long because it's I appreciate your time and I appreciate you you know, checking this all out. So I'll stop the share, get back on here, and I'll see if there's anything. There's 7 questions in chat. Penalty. Inside 6 meter, enough control of the ball, clear path facing. Yeah, that's very good, Francis. And then no particular questions. So everybody, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, appreciate your attention, and hopefully this was helpful. If you want to give me any type of feedback, it's edswimpolo@charter.net, and I would appreciate it, positive or negative.
Thanks for your time, Ed.
All right, thanks, Ed.
Okay. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
sir.
Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed. You're welcome. All right, I'm signing off.
Thanks, Ed.